I will refer all of us, to the resolutions of the Conference of the African National Congress, the 54th that resolution. So, I didn't want us to therefore find ourselves having to discuss issues that are non-issues, insofar as I'm concerned. I would want us to focus on that mandate, because those resolutions were mandating those of us who represent the ANC in government to ensure that those policies that came from that conference are implemented. And therefore, professionalization is not something that came from the sky. It's observations that were made by the ANC, and it directed its deployees to say, go into government and deal with these issues in this way. And that's what we are doing. You go to that resolution clause by clause, and you focus on 3.3 of that resolution on legislature and governance, you will see that the issues that we are talking about when we talk professionalization are decisions of the ANC. So whoever else would want to make it as it, whichever government comes, it will have to live by those, because those are constitutional values. As stipulated, the whole chapter has been dedicated in the Constitution to the public service, Chapter 10. It establishes an independent body. It clarifies the value system that we espouse as a country. It goes on, and those values, if you look at them, you will find correlation between those values as entailed in the Constitution and those values as entailed in the Freedom Charter, and those values as entailed in our lingo, day-to-day operations. Because that we belong, we care, we serve, is this psyche that must inform our thinking, our response, our actions when we are dealing with the public. And the Constitution starts at, if you look at the preamble, we, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past. It goes on and on and on. But there's a phrase I always would want to refer to when talking to public servants specifically. And that one is that having laid the foundations of a democratic and prosperous country, we improve the quality of life of all citizens and free the potential of each person. So when we talk about the NSG, we are operationalizing what is in the Constitution. So let us be mindful of that. When we talk about in the Freedom Charter, we, the people of South Africa, declare for all our country and the world. It means we are again emphasizing the collectiveness, the collective approach, the responsive approach. Our constitution was based on that Freedom Charter. Yes, some of the clauses and some of the principles were taken from other constitutions of the other countries, but the foundation is the Freedom Charter, is our own document. And if you understand how that Freedom Charter was drafted, it was through the door-to-door approach, listening to people, doing what we are doing now about the professionalization, to say this is what has been observed, this is what we think should be the response, what is your input? So that in the end we have this richness that reflects the interests of the country. So we are here to remind ourselves that anyone who is here because of they saw an opportunity to apply for a job and got the job is in the wrong space, because we expect a public service that serves the people. In your interviews, I always wonder, because I know that this is one question that you will always find in an interview, especially in government. What made you to apply? Is there anybody who was never asked that question? What made you to apply in the public service? Actually, I'm talking to designers of the questions. You ask that question to those who are applying for a reason. And what is that reason? That reason is to determine whether this person is here to serve or not. Even yourselves, when you were appointed, you were asked the question. And you hear the kind of responses that say, Nyeko, I'm a people's person. Isn't that so? I'm ready to do anything you ask me to do. I'm a kind of transversal person who can fit anywhere. But yes, I do have this interest in this position. We all say that when we apply, because we want the job. But we must understand that the job in itself, in the public service, you as representing now the employer have a responsibility to ensure that as you employ, you do not employ criminals into the system. You do not employ murderers, rapists and all into the system, because you would want to see a capable and ethical and a developmental state. And I've asked this question elsewhere, whether you understand, the team gathered here, whether you understand the power you have in your hands, that actually you can make or break government. And currently, I was listening to one wanting to say, is it criminal to criticize? Is it still, criminal or forbidden to criticize government as a public servant? And I was asking this person, Yeah, I was asking myself, is this person aware that he or she is government? In your family setup, probably it's because now you do that. We do see people taking their family issues to social media. But at least how some of us have been brought up is that if there are issues within your family, you deal with the issues in the family. If they are beyond you, there are family structures that must help you resolve it. Even in government, there are government structures that must help you resolve whatever problem you have. And there are these fora where we say, talk. Let's engage. Make the directives and the regulations. Please show us the blind spots so that we all journey together. And therefore, it cannot be correct. In fact, you must always try and avoid, as a public servant, you must always try and avoid what we term the conflict of interest. When I went into public works and infrastructure, and at some point we were looking at